I'm really nervous. I'm going to start giggling. Sorry. I don't have any literature in my story, just an angry person on holiday. And the story I'm going to tell is about the beginning of me turning into my mother. Yeah. Everyone says, you know, you turn into your mom, you turn into your dad eventually, and I was never opposed or doubtful of the concept of the turning. I just didn't expect it was going to happen to me, like so many other people before me. And so when I was 18, I did what so many young people do in the UK, is take a year out. And I went to India, and I was going to spend 6 months living at home working and saving up money, and then 6 months traveling around India, finding myself and having lots of beginnings, you know, firsts of all sorts of things. I just didn't think it was going to be the first time I saw my mother as me, in me. And so towards the end of my 6 months in the country, I was in the city of Jaisalmer, which is in Rajasthan, with 2 other girls. And we were spending a few days there. And we were, now Jaisalmer is known for its famous sandstone fort, which is magnificent, but we'd also heard that it was great for jewellery. And we were on a hunt for some silver jewellery, because what was the point in going back to the UK without some silver jewellery that we could point at with every sentence that we started, when I was in India recently and I did X, Y, and Z. So we were on the hunt, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and we were walking along and we weren't having much luck. It was very quiet, and suddenly next to us were these 2 young men. One was walking a sort of giant motorcycle, one of these very modern big things, and next to him was his friend. And they started berating us, accusing us of all sorts of things, like, what do you think you're doing here? Why are you here? Who do you think you are? Why do you think you can talk to everyone like that? Now, we had to spend about 20 minutes telling these small children to go away and leave us alone. And so we were immediately confused and bemused, and my first thought was, what the fuck? I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. They were annoying, they wouldn't leave me alone. And they sort of carried on in this manner. And then I think after a little while, the sort of colonial guilt mixed with their negging sort of forced us to apologize for something that we weren't quite sure we'd done. And they became more genial, and so we started having a conversation about what we'd been doing in India and what we were hoping to achieve while in their city. And we said, we're looking for jewelry. And they were like, oh, we have a silver factory. And we were like, oh, how convenient. That's so nice. Would you like to come and see it? And we said, yeah, that'd be great. And we thought, well, there's 3 of us, 2 of them, it's safe, it's okay. So we got in a rickshaw and we followed them to their factory, which was actually a shop that had dusty curtains that you couldn't see out of, and there were about 10 dudes in there. But you know, we walked in anyway, because it didn't seem that nerve-wracking. We were just like, no, we'll go in, it's fine. There was some jewelry, looked around, and they were talking to us about the silver, and we were like, oh, these pieces are lovely. And then they mentioned that they could make things for us. So I said, oh, well, I would love to have a bracelet made for my mother. And they said, that's fine, we can do that. You have to pay some money beforehand, and it will take us, you know, like 4 or 5 days. And I said, great. So I handed them a load of cash. I don't know how much it was now, but I don't think it was probably that much. So I gave it to them. And then they started to bring up the subject of maybe we would like to carry some packages for them back to Europe. And filled with jewelry, of course. Packets of jewelry. And they told us they would pay for the flights and they would pay for our accommodation and we could come back and it would all be great. And we were like, I think my gut was telling me, Strugs, don't do it, Strugs, don't do it. But the amount of money they were talking about, we did look at each other and we raised our eyebrows and we thought, oh yeah, I said, we'll think about it. And then they led us into a side room. Of course, again, why would we do that? There's only 3 of us and about 10 of them. So we went into the side room, and then they produced this A4 folder of all these photocopies of passports of other Europeans that had done such things for them, that had carried these packets back to Europe. And it was all very successful, and they were all very happy with what they had done. And we said, oh, interesting, yeah, we'll think about it. And then they produced a tray of soft drinks. And of course, my mother's voice was now firmly in my head saying, never take a drink from a stranger that you didn't see poured. But we drank them anyway. And so, obviously, we made it out of the shop alive. But over the next 24 hours, I guess you could say they sort of courted us. They obviously thought they were onto a good thing, even though by this stage we'd started to sort of say, I don't know, yeah, I don't think it's such a good idea if we should, do this for you. We're kind of on a deadline with our trip. And the next day, we were in a restaurant with them, and I think by this stage we'd said very firmly, I'm sorry, but we're not taking the packets of jewels for you. And they became very mean, very nasty. And I was going to mention that one of them, the sort of ringleader of the group, had 6 fingers. Not that there's anything wrong with having 6 fingers, but I feel like this sort of jangly thing on the end of his hand kind of added to his meanness, because he became very mean once he realized that we weren't going to carry the packets. And so we parted ways, and we were all very bemused and upset by the situation, and because it's like they're obviously drug dealers, right? And why are they being so mean if we just say no? I don't understand. But by the next day, I was no longer upset, I was livid. They had my money for the bracelet, and I wanted it back. I didn't care how much it was. I wanted the money back for that bracelet that was obviously never going to get made for my mother. So I marched back to their factory by myself, and I went in, and there were a couple of guys there that I'd recognized from the previous days, and I said, I want my money back. And they were like, oh, I don't know. I said, no, I want my money back. I don't care what was said, I need that money back now. They were like, I don't know. I said, I want the guy with the 6 fingers, I want him here now to tell me why I can't have my money back. I want it. And this is when my mother came out. I had the hand on my hip, the finger was wagging. I was like, I don't care. I want that money. You get him on the phone, or you get him here, I want that money now. I really need it. And I always thought that since then, when I've turned on that voice, like either in the cinema, when someone's being noisy, or maybe when I've been trying to get a seat on the tube for an old lady, I was like, this is more like, I called it my old woman voice, sort of in World War II, berating a German who'd parachuted into her back garden. That's not a good idea. So I kept berating the man. Eventually he got the chap on the phone. See, it's happening now. Chap on the phone, and he, I marched him to an ATM, and I got the money. So it worked. Obviously, turning into my mother has some benefits. Of course, a few days later, we were in a tiger reserve, because it was India, and we met these older backpackers. I say older, they were like 23, but they'd already been to university, so they were wiser. And we told them our whole big story with the drug dealing finger people. And their response was, oh yeah, we met those guys. We told them to fuck off straight away. So, lesson learned. And I am my mother.